This Woodpeckers StabilMaxRT Plus is the best benchtop router table on the market. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that this $350 router table is extremely comparable to my full-size Woodpeckers router table that costs around $2,000. If you're limited on space in your shop or not trying to break the bank on a full-size router table, I think this option is definitely something you should consider if you're looking to add a router table to your shop. There's really not much that separates these two machines, besides the obvious size difference. Both of these router tables can handle 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch shank router bits. With the full-size router table, you can run a more powerful 3¼ horsepower motor that usually includes 2 different collets that allow you to run 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch shank bits. With the StabilMaxRT, you have the option of using just a trim router with 1/4 inch shank bits. Or you can use a fixed base router, which, just like the full-size router table, allows you to use both 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch shank bits. They also both feature an extremely well-built, fully functional fence. On both options, you can slide the fence forward and back, and adjust the fence faces in and out. Where they differ, though, is with the micro adjust and the flip stops. With the full-size router table, you can add optional flip stops, since the fence is made out of the super track and has a slot on the top. On the StabilMax, though, you don't have the option to attach flip stops, but you can easily clamp a piece of wood to the fence to act as a stop instead. With the micro adjust, the only real difference is that on the full-size router table, it's an add-on feature that doesn't come included with your router table package. The micro adjust on the StabilMaxRT comes included, and it operates really nicely. You can make more of a macro adjust by first loosening this knob and then pulling on the fence to compress the spring. Then just spin the thumb wheel to lock the position in place. But you can further dial in the fence position by just turning the thumb wheel. Once you get it where you like, you can lock it in place and you're good to go. In my opinion, there are only 4 major things that really separate these two router tables. The biggest one for me would have to be dust collection. Sure, both fences have a built-in 2½ inch outside diameter dust port, but with your full-size router table, you have this downdraft dust collection cabinet, which honestly makes all the difference when you're using bits like roundovers or chamfers, because the majority of the wood chips want to go down towards your router. So with this dust cabinet, you're much less likely to have a huge mess to clean up once you're done using your router table. I should also mention that both these options are, however, compatible with the free handguard, which is an excellent accessory that I like to use, especially when I'm flush trimming any pattern projects. The second major difference is portability. With the full-size router table, you have a wheel kit that allows you to easily roll it around your shop wherever you need it. But that's about where the portability ends with this one. With the StabilMaxRT, you can pretty much take this thing wherever you want, which is extremely handy, especially if you do a lot of job site work that requires the use of a router table. You can set this thing up in just a couple of seconds with the fold-out legs that also have this flange, giving you a nice place to clamp your router table so it's not moving around on you while you use it. You can also clamp it to a tabletop using some track clamps in these slots that are milled on the bottom of the table. If you plan on using it like this the majority of the time, you can also go ahead and remove the fold-out legs to remove any unnecessary added weight. The whole portability thing, though, doesn't stop there. One feature that's unique to this benchtop router table is that your router that you choose to use with it doesn't have to live there forever. You can instantly remove your router and base plate from the table to add a quick edge profile to your larger projects. When you're done, you can easily set it back in place without having to fiddle with any screws or knobs. This rubber bumper provides enough pressure to basically give you a friction fit, which eliminates any kind of tedious installation process. The third major difference for me is just the size of each one and what horsepower routers you can use with them. The full-size router table is definitely more of a commitment in your shop. You have to not only have enough space for this thing to fit, but you also have to take into consideration any in-feed and out-feed space as well. However, with the larger size, you can use larger routers, like this 3¼ horsepower SpinRite router motor. A setup like this is more ideal if you're a full-time professional woodworker with a large enough shop running hundreds of board feet through this thing a day. The StabilMaxRT is much smaller, but like we said before, it's much more portable and it can store nicely on a small shelf whenever you're not using it. With the smaller size though, you're limited to using this with only trim routers and 1.5 to 2.5 horsepower fixed base routers. I will say though, it's compatible with over 14 different routers, which makes this thing extremely versatile. I believe this setup is meant for any woodworker or home remodeler that wants all the functions of a full-size router table, but in a smaller, more portable option that doesn't take up much space when you're not using it. The fourth and final difference comes down to price point. This full-size router table is definitely more of an investment, coming in at around $2,000 for this setup. But if you're at a point in your woodworking career where you need a high production shop, the investment is definitely going to be worth it for you. Now, if you're just starting out in woodworking and you want a high quality router table, then the $350 StabilMaxRT Plus is perfect for you. As you've seen, it's extremely comparable to the full-size router table, and it even has some high-quality features that the bigger one just doesn't. So let me know down in the comments below. If you're a beginner woodworker, or if you were to start your woodworking journey all over again with zero tools, which one of these options would you buy first? If you guys got some value out of this video, please go ahead and let me know by clicking that like button below. And check out some of these other videos.